Dan Hoard at Camp Higher Ground. Time for a second update with Bearcats head coach Luke Fickell. You had a scrimmage last Saturday at Nippert Stadium. Who stood out?
I think right off the bat, offensively, Mike Warren. I mean, he was definitely the spark. And not just running the football, but catching the ball and really playing without the ball in his hands. You're always trying to find, offensively, defense, you're trying to find those guys that give you energy, provide energy in everything that you do. And there's no doubt that Mike Warren gave us that and his ability to play with the ball, without the ball, in all phases of the game. And then defensively, I think Kamani Fitz, who's a senior for us, and played a lot of ball for us last year, but really had an aggressively productive day for us. And when you can create some of those things offensively and defensively, it's a game of momentum. Didn't create it, you got to keep it, and those two guys I think stood out the most.
You got a couple of transfers that came in and are eligible to play immediately. Cornerback Cam Jeffries, offensive lineman Dino Boyd. Are they likely to play a big role this year?
They are. And you just never really know. I know it's kind of an area for us that we have some specifics on what we want to do if we have an opportunity to get a grad transfer. And it's a unique situation based on dynamics and a lot of things. And both of those guys have come in and really kind of just open arms. The guys have accepted them and they've had an ability to go out there and perform. And it's a little tougher, I think, on the offensive line. Just with a new system and the things that you got to do. But Dino definitely brings something. A lot of experience of playing in a lot of college football games, but a chip on his shoulder, a little bit of that edge that you really like. And I think that right now it looks pretty good to maybe possibly have him at the left tackle. And then Cam Jeffries, at the corner spot, sometimes a little bit easier. There's maybe not as many things as you jump into it, but he's got a uniqueness with knowing Coach Mickens and being coached by Coach Mickens, and that's a part of the battle of kind of understanding the philosophy of a lot of the things. So he stood out. He'll play a lot of football for us, and what they've actually done is create competition. And I think that anytime you can create that healthy competition, you got the makings of some good things.
You've got some good returning running backs. Jared Dokes, you mentioned Michael Warren, but you also have a true freshman from Dayton, Tavion Thomas. On Monday in some red zone drills, he hammered the ball into the end zone several times. Cortez Broughton said, if Tavion Thomas was walking down the street, I'd walk on the other side. I mean, that's how big and physical this kid is. Yeah,
so you might think he might be a defensive end sometimes when you're walking down there, but he's a big kid. He's an aggressive kid. He's got a lot of talent. And that's in one of those spots now. You got to pick and choose. And I think that's what we're trying to do this next week is really find out, how can we be successful and how can those individuals be successful in what we're asking to do. And, learning him and what his learning curve is and what he can do. And I think that's the makings of great coaches when you can put a guy in a position where he can be successful as opposed to saying, hey, this is a great scheme of what we're doing. They put the players first and we find a way, especially offensively, to get the ball in the hands of the guys that can and give them an opportunity to do what they can do.
After practice on Monday, when you were talking to the team, you said this week is about leadership. Where does that stand this year as opposed to your first?
We were still trying to figure out a lot of things, and where you can say the seniors are leaders by nature, that's not always the case. And so this week for us is kind of the grind, this kind of what I'd say the second phase of camp, and we're going to find out who can come out, have the maturity, whether they got a little ding on the shoulder, whether they got hit in the mouth, and continue to be that guy that provides energy and lead and make people around them better. Because you're not going to feel great in the second week of camp. Nobody is. If you do, then it means you probably haven't been playing. So you really find out those guys that love it, those guys that are willing to help the guy to the left and to the right of them. And that's what we need to be successful.
Cincinnati's had some great tight ends over the years. Travis Kelce obviously comes to mind, Brent Selleck before that. I've never seen a group of tight ends this deep. You go about 6 deep at that position.
And I think that's one of the focuses for us is just finding ways, and that's kind of the challenge to Coach Denbrock and those guys in the offense to say, hey, if we've got these talents, how do we use them? And it's not shoving square pegs in round holes, but in what ways can we use them? What can they be successful doing? And how does that fit with what we want to be and the identity as an offense? And so it's a good thing to have, and then ultimately it creates that competition because everybody wants to play. And we're going to find a way to get the best 11 defensive guys in the field and the best 11 offensive guys in the field. If that means no tight ends or 3 tight ends, we'll find a way.
Last question, the obligatory quarterback question. You've been working Hayden Moore and Desmond Ridder pretty evenly with the number 1 offense. It seems like they've kind of rotated back and forth pretty easily. Where does that battle stand?
Well, Des, is still the guy that I would say is, he didn't start with the ones maybe to But Hayden is still the guy right now. But what I've done is, and what Gino has done, and what Coach Denbrock and this guy's offense have, is create a healthy competition. And I sit in that meeting room and see those guys compete on a daily basis. I see them help each other out. And I think that's the unique thing that you kind of focus on. Well, who's the starter? I focus on, hey, are they making each other better? And not just by the way they compete, but the way they help each other. Hey, what did you see? What did you see? And I think when that starts to happen, the guys care about one another. They both want to start. They both want to be the guy. They wouldn't be quarterbacks. They wouldn't be in this situation that they didn't. But their ability to make each other, push each other, help each other, I think is what's going to make us different this year.
The Bearcats hard at work here at Camp Higher Ground, getting ready for the season opener at UCLA. For Coach Fickell, I'm Dan Hoard. Thanks for checking out this training camp report on GoBearcats.com.